If you like our videos, please like, comments, share, subscribe, #the tour.
What's up again, YouTube? It's Justin again, and we're back to talk about driving for companies like DoorDash, GrubHub, and UberEats. Today, we're actually going to get down to business and talk about the things that you really want to hear about. I think today we're going to cover things that you should think about prior to coming to work for a company like this. The very first thing that you need to take into consideration is, what is the condition of my vehicle? What are my tires like? How long has it been since I changed my oil? Do I need spark plugs? What condition are my belts in? What condition are the hoses in? There's so many things on a vehicle that you really need to stop and think about before you just go out and get on the road and start putting a crazy amount of miles on your car, especially if you're planning to do this full time. Because if you're doing it full time, planning to drive, I would say at least 200 to 300 miles a day. I know when I drive a 10-hour day, it tends to be in the 200 to 300 mile range. I have driven as much as like 400 in a day. That is when you're just crazy busy, non-stop all day long. Those days are pretty rare. You're typically gonna have some little gaps in your day, little 5, 10, 15-minute gaps. But all right, let's get down to business. What about the cars? What kind of car do you drive? Does it get good gas mileage? If you're getting less than 30, your profits are going to be, suffering. If you get less than 20, I would be willing to bet they'll be non-existent. If you get above 40, you're doing really good. Make sure that you keep a check on your oil every day, because you're going to be doing a lot of city driving, and idling is very rough on oil consumption. A lot of vehicles, especially like Toyotas, for example, tend to burn oil when they idle. I drive a Nissan and recently learned that the reason I'm losing oil is because it's burning it when I'm idling. It's the cause of and reason for my rough idle. If you don't know anything about cars, if you've never checked oil, if you barely know how to put gas in it, don't know how to check your radiator fluids and whatnot, you're going to want to get somebody around you that can do that stuff for you on a regular basis. You are not going to want to pay a oil change shop or mechanic shop or whatever to keep up with your regular maintenance. You really need to be doing all of your maintenance yourself. And I realize that not everybody can rebuild an engine or swap out a transmission. For some people, a job that's as typically simple as an alternator, that's a big job that just can't be done. For me, I can swap engines and transmissions. I've rebuilt engines. There's nothing on a car that I can't do. So for me as a delivery driver, the maintenance aspects of things are generally taken care of. I don't have to go to a mechanic except for oil changes, because it's easier for them to dispose of it. It also tends to be more cost effective and just quicker. I also go to mechanics for tires. I don't have the necessary equipment to mount and balance a tire. Other than that, I can do brakes, CV axles, transmissions. What do you and don't you know how to do when it comes to your car? You know what? Instead of sitting here gabbing for 30 minutes about how you are or aren't going to take care of your car, why don't I just take you outside and show you? Alright, so here we are in my car. Mine happens to be a 2010 Nissan Altima. And we're just going to start some really basics. I'm going to break it all down Barney style. Turn the radio off. Alright, so all these crazy lights. Obviously, you know, that lets you know your emergency brake's on. That lets you know that you need to check the oil. Typically, it's an indication that there's a temperature or pressure problem. Service engine soon. That lets you know there's a sensor somewhere in your car that is letting you know that something is not quite the way it's supposed to be. What do you call this where you're from? Where I'm from, it's a battery light. Basically lets you know that your alternator is not putting out the charge that it should be. Then we have the Tpms Light. That is the tire pressure monitoring system. Lets you know that you might need to put some air in your tires. But like mine in particular, it goes on and off when it wants to, and it can be finicky depending on the temperature of the air outside. Obviously, this last little symbol is to let you know whether or not you have your seatbelt on. There's one in there that it only pops up kind of at random. Let's see if we can get it to come on again. No, it doesn't pop up. Okay. But so it's right about in here, and it says slip, and it's just letting you know that you're not getting the traction that you need to get. You probably saw the one flash over there, little bubble seatbelt looking guy. That just lets you know whether your passenger airbag is on or off. All right, so, you know, that stuff as far as instruments and the indicators and all that, it's pretty standard across all autos across the world. There are some variations out there. All right, so now let's get under the hood. So now that we're under the hood, and I've already taken the cover off my engine so that you can actually see the engine. A few things you want to check. Your oil tends to be near the exhaust manifold, okay? If it's not on the exhaust manifold, it's likely to be somewhere in the top of your valve cover, maybe on a corner or something like that. But oil sticks do differ in their appearance. A lot of them are going to have hash marks towards the bottom. See, I need about a quart of oil in mine, and this is caused because I idle so much because of driving for companies like DoorDash, GrubHub, and UberEats. All right. So, radiator cap, radiator flows under here, in case you didn't already know. You can check it directly if it has a cap. Some newer cars depend strictly on the coolant reservoir. Okay, nice and tight. Windshield washer fluid. These can be on the left or right of a vehicle. Depends on your make and model and when it was made and all that kind of stuff. And then you got the coolant reservoir. Keep in mind, some cars use green antifreeze, some cars use orange. Some people will tell you that it doesn't matter, that you can mix the two, but that is absolutely not true. If your car calls for orange, you better use orange. If it calls for green, you better use green. All right. So we got power steering fluid. Your reservoir is probably going to be different. It might not be on the same side of the vehicle. It tends to be, you know, about a foot-ish or so away from the firewall. You got your brake fluid is right here. That one is always on the firewall. And ooh, I need brake fluid. See, this is why you got to check this stuff. I mean, you're seeing a real delivery driver's car here, okay? And I know about cars, and I work on them, you know? So, you know, I neglect stuff too. You're gonna wanna learn how to change some spark plugs, I'm sure, because you're gonna go through them, putting as many miles on your car as you are. That's typically a pretty easy job. Like if you got a coil set up, if you got 4 coils like I do, unplug each coil, take the screw out of each one that holds it in, they pull straight out, use a spark plug socket, in my case it's a 9/16 socket, and get all the way down in the tube. I have to use about a 6 to 8 inch extension to get all the way down to mine. They're really easy. Make sure you got a spark plug gapper with you ready ahead of time. Even if you buy them pre-gapped, you need to always be sure to gap them. Sometimes they're over-gapped, sometimes they're under-gapped. Do not trust it straight out of the box. Okay? What else we got in here? We got some belts, or a belt in my case. My car just has one. It's a serpentine. I've replaced it before, but I would say that I need to consider replacing it sometime soon. See how it looks? Slightly dry. You can kind of see the thread pattern that's in the belt. You know, that's just signs of wear. That's your belt wearing out. Your battery. If you've got a maintenance-free battery, there's not much to worry about. If you do have to do maintenance on them, like I do, you pop these caps off. There are typically like 4 holes, maybe 3, right here. It's got a liquid down in it. You do not want to touch that liquid because it's a mix of acid and distilled water. Some people say it's okay to use tap water to fill up a battery. Personally, I say you need to use distilled water only. Tap water will get you in a pinch, but it will limit the life of your battery. Air filters. Every car is different when it comes to these, for sure. Yours is probably going to be somewhere right in front of the driver. You know, typically got a couple of clips, and like mine, I basically pull it out from here, and the filter's in there. They tend to only go one way. Like you can see, if I turned mine over, the filter would actually be, you know, sticking into this little piece of plastic there. And then we've got the most important part of any vehicle. No vehicle would exist without it. Tires and brakes. Okay. If you got a nice open wheel, you can sometimes, and I don't think I can do it in my case. I don't think I can show you. But a lot of times, if your rims have nice big openings, you can kind of look through one of the holes, and you'll be able to see your how much pad you have on your brake pads. Pay attention to your rotors too. You don't want them looking warped or like deep gouges and grooves and all that. They should be relatively smooth in appearance. Checking your tread. You know, like I use Douglas Extra Track tires. I do not recommend these tires. They are absolutely terrible. Goodyear should probably just discontinue the line altogether. I will never buy another set, and I've probably bought like 7 or 8 sets. They're terrible in the rain. They're terrible in the snow. Sometimes I struggle for traction when it's dry. So I don't recommend them like at all. All tire pressure is different. Some you got to do 44 pounds, some are 35 pounds or 32 pounds. It just depends on what you've got. So now that we've looked at the car and pointed out some of the indicators that can let you know about maintenance issues, as well as pointing out where some of the components and reservoirs that you need to check for your fluids. You know how to look at tire tread, and I can show you in a different video little bit more about the maintenance, like how to check your air pressure, and we can even do some small jobs to me, maybe a big job to somebody else, like changing belts or hoses and whatnot. But there's also a lot of other things that have absolutely nothing to do with maintenance that you really should consider, prior to getting into the world of independent delivery contracting. One really good thing to consider is your driving style. Are you the type of person that has a lot of tickets? Like, are you on SR22 insurance? Are you high risk? Have you had a lot of wrecks? Because if you're going out there driving 200 to 300 miles a day, the statistics around you driving are going to greatly change in terms of you're going to be at a much higher risk for tickets and accidents. I know prior to moving to Iowa, I basically had a perfect driving record. My driving record was terrible as a teenager, but I had a 13-year gap in any type of accident or ticket. And then I moved to Iowa, and since I've been in Iowa, I've had 3 speeding tickets and I've been rear-ended 4 times. I was lucky that all 4 times I got rear-ended, there was no real damage done. I was hit, basically like from an almost stopped position. I just got hit this past winter. A kid slid into me because of slushy snow and ice. And like I said, I've been lucky to, not really experience any damage. But that doesn't mean that, your risk of getting into wrecks and, a fender bender that's a little more serious than a fender bender, where there's like damage and injury, those risks are going to go up greatly if you're out there driving, 200 miles a day. So that's something to think about. Do you want to put your car and yourself at risk like that for ruining your driving record, as well as potentially destroying your vehicle or losing your life? So just think about that. Something else to consider is your level of physical fitness. There's a very strong possibility that you're regularly going to have to go up, 3 or 4 flights of stairs at a time in apartments. If you work in a downtown area and there are no elevators in, multiple floor apartment buildings, you could be walking a lot of flights of stairs. Although usually when it's more than like 4 floors, there tends to be an elevator. And in some 3 or 4 floor apartment buildings, they have elevators. So it can be an issue. It might not be an issue. It really just depends on where you get sent. Sometimes, like especially if you're taking a bigger order, the weight of the food can be over 50 pounds very easily. So you're going to want to consider, can you handle that type of weight? Generally, you're going to be delivering like food that's like for 1 or 2 people. So it's not really going to be that heavy, maybe 5 pounds or something. A lot of that depends on the weight of your bag. There's another thing you need to consider is the heating bags. All these companies, except for maybe UberEats, require a heating bag. I don't know if they've changed their policy or not. That's one reason why personally I would never order from UberEats, because I know they're not going to put my food in a hot bag. So there are so many different choices for hot bags out there. Personally, I recommend stay away from the ones on Amazon, stay away from the ones on eBay. Those tend to be just cheap, like crap, garbage that they're going to develop mold in no time flat. They're going to stink in no time flat. And a stinky bag is a bad thing because that's putting stink on the food that you're delivering. And it's also potential stink that a customer might smell at the door, and you don't want a customer to smell that stink. That's not a good stink. Some of these companies will issue you a bag to start, like DoorDash and GrubHub both issue a bag, but it's basically a grocery bag with a foil lining. Personally, I think these bags are a joke. I do keep one of those bags in my car as an extra. Sometimes for like really small stuff, or I don't know, it just kind of evaluated as needed. Uh, these bags can come in handy, but for the most part, I would say they're completely useless. If you really want a good bag, um, this is technically not the website anymore, but if you go to this website, it'll automatically redirect you to their new name. UltimatePizzaBag.com. Okay? LGRDX. And then they have several number versions after that DX. Um, these bags are a high quality, professional, uh, no jokes bag. Okay? Um, they're easy to carry drinks with, especially if the drinks are in a tray. You can separate orders easily because most of these bags are two compartment bags, as well as the center divider is removable, so it becomes a much bigger bag that is about the size of a hotel pan. Um, I take catering orders in these bags. Uh, these things are amazing. They've got a nice thick um, cloth. I'm not sure if it's a polyester or what, but the outside is black, tough, and then the inside it's got the foil lining, and they're insulated. So there are so many times when I show up to a customer and they've got Velcro lids, so they're so easy to get in and get out. But I'll pop that lid open, and the next thing you know, you got this big steam cloud like rolling out, and the customer's like, "Wow." Those bags can deliver a wow factor, and you are not going to get that wow factor with any bag. I mean, any bag that you find on Amazon or eBay. Those bags are garbage. They're for pizza delivery boys that are teenagers and never going to work as a delivery driver again. Maybe if you're going to use it as a temporary or a few months to get you started, okay. But I would never use one of those bags long term. I have one in the trunk of my car. I bought one once. I think mine was an eBay bag. Um, I use it for my grocery orders. I let the grocery employees, when they're loading my trunk, they stick the cold stuff in there. Sometimes they stick dry stuff in there. I don't really understand it, but whatever. It's back there for them to use, and that thing actually does come in handy with groceries because I can load it up with a lot more than I can carry in my hands, and it's great for like the 20-ounce drink 6-packs and canned 12-packs and jugs of milk and tea and juice and all that. It makes it a lot easier to carry multiple items at once, as well as increasing the amount of weight that I can carry at once. So, one more thing yet another thing that we need to talk about is money. Money, 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 money. How are you with money? Can you hang on to it? Do you spend it the second you got it? Are you responsible with it? Like, do you keep your bills paid? If you can't answer yes to most of those, you are never going to survive in this line of work. You have to have an expense account. You got to be able to cover the gas every single day. Okay. Remember that you're idling a lot now, so you need to keep a check on your oil. This likely means that you're going to be buying oil, once a week, once a month, once every 2 weeks. It may be every day or every other day. And a quart of oil can be $4 to $6 easy. And if it's 2 quarts at a time, that's $8 to $12 at a time. Um, you know, I tend to need, like with my current vehicle, for food, because I eat out while I'm out there. I don't see a point in bringing my own. That's up to you. You can bring your own food if you want to make your things cheaper, but I choose to just go for dollar menus and that kind of thing. Snack all day long. Snack when I can. I tend to need about $60 a day for gas and food. That's about $40 for gas because my Altima has a big tank in it, and then $20 for food. I usually eat two, maybe three times while I'm out there. If you're working for a company that doesn't allow you to pause your dash, good luck finding time to eat. You just got to squeeze it in when you can. There were so many times, when I used to do this the first time that I would get so mad out there because I could never find the time to stop and eat. And you get miserable like that, and there's nothing you can do. All you got to do is just keep driving and suck it up. But then with DoorDash, you can actually pause your dash, which is such a valuable thing. Oh my God, I love it so much to be able to let them know while I'm on a delivery, stop orders after this delivery, okay? Then, as soon as I'm done with that one and mark it complete, it pops up, 35-minute timer. You got 35 minutes or the dash ends. But a little trick, if you're fast enough, you can resume your dash and then pause it again, and then you're back at 35 minutes. Sometimes it takes me a little longer than 35 minutes to find a restaurant from wherever I'm at and then, eat within that amount of time. Usually I'm pretty good at keeping it under like 20, 25 minutes because I try to be close to a restaurant already when I pause my dash to just limit the amount of time that I paused so that I can stay out there making money. I think that about wraps it up for this one. We have covered a lot, I think, in this episode. Remember to consider your maintenance, consider your driving record and style, consider your life because you are going to be increasing the risk of accident, and consider how well you can manage finances. You need to be able to set yourself a daily budget. You've always got to have that budget set to the side. If you don't have gas, you can't drive. Cars don't work without gas.